our president, the president of the Nigerian Young Academy, Dr. Muhammad Awal Ibrahim. Chairman, is he around now?
Yeah, he's around.
Okay. My president, you're welcome. Please, can you go ahead with your welcome address?
Huh? No, he's not around. It's Dr. Omonkhua is around. He's not around.
He's not.
It's not around. Okay. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. So you are highly welcome to the 4th edition of NYA Informal Interactive Program, tagged as Talk to Your Professor. This program is designed, as the moderator earlier said, just to allow the upcoming scholars, our mentees, our postgraduate students, our PhD students, and early career researcher to learn from the weight of experience of the fellow and member of NYA. As you know, NYA we are very rich in scholars of diverse background and expertise. So we want to package this weight of experience just to mentor this upcoming researcher so that in future they can become a renowned researcher that can contribute to national development. So this is the 4th edition. We've added like 3 before, and this is the 4th one. And so the participants, I want to welcome you to this program. And we have the panelists that are noted. They are people that know their onion, and they are people of high timber and caliber in various areas of research. So please listen attentively and make sure that you grab as much as possible from this their work of experience before the end of this program. Once again, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the speech from the president. I'll go to the talk of this first speaker. The title of our talk is Skills in Writing Research Proposals, and it will be delivered by Professor Akhere Omonkhua from the Department of Medical Biochemistry, University of Benin. But before she starts, I want to read part of our citation. So I'll go ahead with our citation now. Professor Akhere Omonkhua is a teacher and researcher in the Department of Medical Biochemistry, University of Benin, Nigeria, where our research focus is determining the efficacy, safety, and mechanism of action of local medicinal plants used to treat diabetes, malaria, and reproductive disorders. She has over 50 journal and other publications and has presented papers in a number of local and international conferences. She has served as a resource person and guest speaker at several workshops, seminars, and public lectures within and outside Nigeria. Prof is the current head of Department of Medical Biochemistry, and she also oversees the academic and research programs of the African Center of Excellence in Reproductive Health Innovation, CERHI, a World Bank supported project in the University of Benin. She is also the principal investigator of the Natural Products and Phytomedicine Research Group, University of Benin, and principal investigator / co-investigator of several grants, including the ARIF Excellence Program, 3 TEDFund National Research Fund, NRF grants, National COVID-19 Rapid Diagnostic Test Validation Study, and Seeding Labs Instrumental Access. She is the science editor of African Journal of Reproductive Health, Africa's foremost journal in the dissemination of reproductive health research and programming outcomes. In addition to this, she is a member of several scientific societies, including Nigerian Society for Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, the Nigerian Society for Experimental Biology, and the Nigerian Society for Medicinal Plant and Natural Product Research, Germany, and a fellow of the Nigerian Young Academy. Professor Omonkhua is an avid believer in the building of research leadership via mentoring early career academics. It is on this note that we'll invite her to give her talk. You are welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Can I have access to share my screen?
Yeah, please. Let me stop mine. Please do.
Okay. Can I share now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for your kind words. I actually decided to use a small presentation so that I would be able to keep to the time. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak on this. Nigerian Young Academy is dear to my heart. As has been mentioned, I'm a fellow of the Academy. So today I want to look at skills in writing research proposals. One of the things that most aspiring researchers find difficult, writing publications is not so much of a difficulty for many academics, but when it comes to writing proposals, it can be a bit tricky. I remember that I wrote my first proposal after 6 years of having a PhD, and that's to show you that there can be a gap. And if you really want to do good research, then you really must focus on writing proposals, because that's where you get the funding, and that's where you can have the money to do the kind of research that you want to do. So I want to quickly look at what I'm looking at this from a personal point of view, and as well as a professional point of view, what I have experienced. And I think that it can help people who want to write proposals. For me, one of the key things in starting the thoughts, the idea of writing a proposal, is identifying the research problem. And that is tricky because you have to identify a problem that is novel, that is innovative. Now, innovative novel doesn't mean discovering new things. It could be discovering better ways of doing something old. And it has to be interesting and be able to catch the interest of the funding agency. Another thing people avoid, maybe because they don't want their ideas to be stolen, is that they don't talk to other people. And this is a big mistake, because brainstorming your ideas with colleagues and mentors is incredibly important. As smart as people are, when two heads come together, they make better decisions. And so brainstorming is a very key issue. And then to understand what you're going to present, they need to do an in-depth literature review. This helps you to solve the first problem, which is the research problem, because you don't want to do something that other people have done before. It will not attract the interest of those who are funding. Remember that these are people who are in the business of funding research, so they know a lot about this. And so do very in-depth literature search and then identify the gaps. And these gaps are what you aim to fill. Then find collaborators. Some people give up when they think they don't have a set of skill set to solve a problem, and so they think they can't do it. But if you find collaborators who can do this, and those you can depend on, you can trust, then you can bring them into the research proposal and strengthen it. And then seek advice from researchers who are in that area of interest, especially if you are delving into proposal writing for the very first time. Seek advice from people who are in that field, and you'll be surprised that such people could become potential collaborators with you. And then another thing is to review, especially if you are applying to a specific funding agency, review previously funded research. And when you have done all of this, develop a novel idea. For most proposal, it starts with a concept note or a concept letter, a concept paper, depending on how it's put. And this concept paper is usually unsolicited. In other words, there's an open call. On very few occasions, some funders, especially when you have developed a very good track record, will specifically write to you. That's not very common. But most people, most funding agencies will leave their call open because they want it to be very competitive. And so proposals in the first instance, are difficult to write, and they are usually lengthy. And so many organizations don't want to read very lengthy proposals. And so they usually start with a concept note, which is a summary of what the research questions, your objectives, and how you hope to achieve those research questions. And it is after they have written this concept note, they scrutinize it and streamline it to those who suit their purpose. That is the funding agency. That is when you are asked to write the full proposal. And for the full proposal, there's usually a lot of documentation. And so you have to start on time. And so you collate the document, you finalize the proposal, and you submit. And of course, wait for a response. If you are successful, congratulations, implement the project. If you are rejected, make inquiries and try again. So to me, in my own experience, what are the things that I can say are the most important things with respect to being able to sail through positively in a grant? I think number one for me is identifying an important idea or research question. If you want to rehash what others have done over and over again, it is very unlikely that you will be funded. So you must have a new idea or a new way of doing things. And like I said before, you get these ideas from a detailed literature search. Another key aspect of writing proposals is that you must provide evidence that you or someone in your team can carry out this project. That is, you must show track record. Why is this important? Remember that a granting body is giving you money to carry out a project, which is in their interest usually. And so they want to make sure that you are capable of dispensing that activity, because nobody wants to put in money where they know there will be no return on investment. So you have to show track record. This is a bit tricky for people who are new into grant writing, but it's not impossible to sum out. What you do if you are new to grant writing is that you get someone on your team who has track record. That will help boost your proposal. And then the last thing, and another major mistake a lot of people make, is they think that the bigger the words, the more jargons they use, the better their proposals will be. Actually, the reverse is the case. Most of the time, people want to read a succinct and clear proposals. They don't want ambiguity. They don't want heavy languages, complicated language. They want something simple, very simple. Remember that most proposals at the very early stage of review are reviewed by sometimes non-scientists if you are writing a scientific paper. So if you're going to be using ambiguous words, a lot of jargons, it can be off-putting. So it is better to make it clear and succinct, as simple as possible. Then how do you identify the bodies that can fund your research? For people who are new to grants writing, I usually recommend that you start with institutional granting bodies. For example, in Nigeria, we have the TED Fund Institutional-Based Research Grant. Start with something small. Start building that track record. And then do some fellowships. Do some small grants like the IFS grants and the rest. And then start moving into national, regional grants like the FLAG grants and the rest. And then before you move to the international scene. Some people are lucky. They go straight to the international scene and that's fine. But I think that it is good for us to, especially for those who are starting out, start with something small. It helps you build track record so that when you are applying for a higher level of grant, there is the evidence that you have done something similar and you have executed that grant appropriately. I just want to give my last word because I'm aware this is a 1-hour program. Yes. So my last word for you is this: find a mentor. I can tell you that I mentioned that the first time I wrote a proposal was 6 years after I had my PhD. And I still would not have written that if I had not had a mentor. Mentors have a way of seeing what you yourself cannot see. And a good mentor has a way of pushing you to that potential, to achieving that potential that you have. The second thing is never give up. If your proposal is rejected, don't give up. Find out why it's rejected and learn from it, and then write again. You continue to write until you get a proposal. There's this saying we have here in my group at the University of Benin, but if you ask, you may receive. And so keep asking, keep putting in the effort. Eventually you will get a grant. And that's the truth. You will get it if you keep at it and you don't give up. And another major advice: if you do get a grant, please do not mess it up. The granting word is a very small word. Word gets around. If you mess up a grant, it is not likely you will ever get another one again. So I thank you very much for listening.
Wow. Thank you very much, Prof, for the highly succinct and educative talk. We know ordinarily for you to deliver a talk of this nature, this it can run into a week talk workshop on grant writing, but we are so sorry that we have just a very little time for you to make this presentation. And I'm sure our attendees are picking one or two things. At least it will set them on your
It's like the moderator is off the radar.
You don't give up. Don't mess up if you get the grant. So thank you very much, Prof. We really appreciate you. After the last talk, we entertain questions from the attendees. So we want you to please stay with us till the end of the program. Thank you very much. Next,
thank you.
We'll go to, yeah, you're welcome. Next, we'll take the talk of our second speaker, who is no one else than our own Dr. Oluwabunmi Oyebode. Doc, are you around? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, thank you very much. I will go ahead and read your citation now. Dr. Oluwabunmi Oyebode is a senior lecturer in the Department of English, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. She was inducted into the Nigerian Young Academy in 2017 and has served as chair the Social Science / Humanities Research Group from 2020 to 2022, member Publicity Committee 2019 to 2022, member NYA Yearbook Committee 2020 to 2021. She was a Fulbright Fellow at the University of Texas at Austin, USA, and a guest researcher at the University of Southern Denmark, Odense, Denmark. She was also a recipient of the prestigious African Humanities Program Postdoctoral Fellowship, AHP, of the American Council of Learned Societies, ACLS, for the 2021-2022 round. Her research interest spans multimodal discourse analysis, in which she has co-authored 2 academic books, which are pioneer reading materials in multimodal discourse studies in Nigeria, media communication, and applied linguistics. She has published several articles in reputable journal outlets, such as Journal of Pan-African Studies, discourse on communication, discourse on society, discourse studies and metaphor, discourse studies, and lastly, metaphor and symbol. So permit me to bring on Dr. Oluwabunmi Oyebode, who is the second speaker. She'll be talking on tips on publishing quality manuscripts. Over to you, Doc.
Right, thank you, Dr. Sorry?
Odetokun.
Odetokun, thank you for helping me. And thank you, everybody, for inviting me on board for this chat. And I want to appreciate Professor Omonkhua for that insightful presentation. It actually shows that you are a prof because you really kept it simple. Okay, I've been asked to talk. Okay, I want to share my
Slides. Please go
yes,
ahead.
my slides.
Yeah.
Is it showing now?
Yes.
Okay, I've been asked to talk on tips on publishing quality manuscripts in academia. And I'll just go straight to the point so that I will not bore us. I have about 20 slides here, but it can be shared after this presentation. But quickly, I will talk about the import of publication. For a scholar or an academic to be recognized as a serious scholar or academic, you must have reputable, robust academic research profile, evidenced with quality publications in prestigious journals. And this basic reality determines how well an academic will fare in terms of promotion, position, prominence, prosperity, job satisfaction, and security in the world of academia. Hence, the need for solid and quality publications. So I go to the question, what is quality? When we talk about quality, what do we mean by that? I hope my screen is showing well.
Yes, but you
Okay.
can put it to PowerPoint mode.
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
How is it now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay. Okay, now, when we talk about quality, what do we mean by that? We're talking about standard practice obtainable in academia. And this standard practice rests on 3 V's. The viability. I mean, how viable is the research you want to carry out? Is the topic researchable? Is it original? What does it add to scholarship in the area you are researching into? And is it publishable? And the second V is validity. Okay, before then, the second V will be veracity. How accurate are the pieces of information presented in your manuscript? You know, you have to do literature review, and from the literature review, you get information. So you have to ascertain the veracity, the veracity of the pieces of information you are putting into your manuscript. How accurate are those pieces of information? And how does the information connect with existing literature in that area of research? And also you must avoid falsehood of any form in academic writing. Now, the third V is validity. By the time you are done writing your research, how accurate do your research, do your results or findings measure up to the objectives of your research? These 3 V's are what guide the quality of a manuscript in academia. Now, what qualifies a manuscript as quality? You say, it's a quality manuscript. There are two dimensions to determining the quality of a manuscript. The first one is content, the content of the manuscript. What do you put together in the manuscript? Then the context of the manuscript, that is, where is this manuscript published? Now, because of my time, there's a table here that I've used, a chart that I've used to project what makes up the content of a manuscript. And this means the basic components of the manuscript. We have 5: introduction, the method, the analysis and discussion, the conclusion, and references. These are the components of a manuscript. And then so each of them has its own features. We have, for introduction, we have 4. The title of your manuscript, which is the face of your article. It has to be as concise as possible, and it has to be interesting. Any academic writing, whether you are writing a proposal for grants, whether you are writing, you are developing your thesis or your dissertation, your title is the window to knowing what your research is all about. So it has to be catchy, it has to be as interesting as possible, and it has to be, it has to be precise. So I said you have to keep it simple. It has to be as simple and as brief as possible. It shouldn't exceed 20 words maximum. And also your abstracts. This is a succinct summary of your research. If I read your abstract, I should have an idea of what the whole research is all about. So it gives us a quick access to your research. Therefore, there are 3 C's that abstracts you attend to. The first one is the context, that is the gap that the research, is the gap in literature that research is about to fill. Then the second C is the context. That is, how is this research situated within the existing literature? Your research must connect with the existing work in that field. You can't find, even if you are discovering new things, somebody somewhere must have done something relevant or related to your study. So there must be a connection. And the first C is about the conclusion, which talks about the single take home from this research. Your research must have something that is saying, that is giving, there should be a message that your readers must take away from that research. Then the third part of your introduction is the keywords. I mean, these are important things, From the keywords, I have an idea of the area of research that manuscript belongs to. And then the introduction itself, which is a part of the main body of this of the research. That is, and what do we have in your introduction? It talks about what is the gap in the scholarship in connection to your study. What is the current study? Why is the current study important? Then the introduction also provides us an opportunity to highlight your area of study and provides rationale and justification as to why this study you are embarking on is significant. Then the next component of your of the content of your manuscript is the method. You have to have a theoretical framework. An academic writing and an article is different from any essay, any writing anywhere. You are not a journalist. You are doing a scientific study, scientific writing. So your work should be based on a theory. So the theoretical framework that is suitable to, that will provide the analytical toolkits for your data. Then the data. You must have data. In humanities, we deal with data. If you are writing any academic, you are engaging in any academic writing, you must have data. In the sciences, they call it samples and evidence that you have to situate apply the existing theory to, and then your methodology. You have to tell us how you go about the data that you're working on, how you go about the selection of the data, the collection of the data, and the procedure. All these things are important. Then the next thing is the analysis of discussion. Okay, here I have 3 main things that you have to watch out for when you are doing your analysis and discussion of your manuscript. Number one, the sample analysis, which is your data. The data must be grounded in a chosen theory. And then in writing, in developing or you're doing your analysis and discussion of the analysis, you have to be systematic, you have to be logical, you have to be objective, and your analysis must be evidence-based. These are what will make your work, different from just writing like a journalist. Okay, the next thing now is the conclusion, which is the main findings of the study in relation to your objectives. By the time you are writing your conclusion, everything must be knitted together. Your manuscript should come out as a whole piece. That is the aim, the goal of the research, the gap you intend to fill, the theoretical framework, the methodology, then the conclusion. Everything must come together. So for your conclusion, I say, what new findings have you been added to the scholarship? It's important. By the time you're around wrapping everything up, we must find out what you have, the new thing you have added to the body of existing literature. And also, what is the memorable take-home message, just as I said in the abstract, that we should see at a glance. Then the last thing, what are the future perspectives in the area of studies? I know that you are aware or familiar with limitation of studies. That is why research is still, it's a continuum. You can't say you have done everything in an area. You must have limitations. So all these things must be, in your conclusion. Now, your references. There is no how you do an academic research without, using relevant literature. So for your study to be scientific or empirical, it must be situated within the existing literature. And there are three things that are important to your literature, your references. Currency, the literature you are using, you don't use dated literature. You are doing a 2022 research, and you are now quoting or citing 1760 something or 18 or even 1980. Use current literature, then ensure that this literature are relevant and suitable to your research. You don't just model things up. And also, you have to find out the relevant reference style in your field. In my own field now, we use MLA, we use APA. You have to be conversant. So in some fields, they use Chicago style. You have to find out the reference style that, that is peculiar to your field, and also in relation to the journal that you are targeting to publish in. Okay. Now, all these four that I've just talked about must pass the 3 V's. They must pass the 3 V's test. The viability, veracity, and validity before your manuscript can be rated quality. Okay. Now, talking about the context of your manuscripts. Sorry, there is a mistake there. I wrote manuscripts. It should be manuscripts. The context of your manuscript, just as I said earlier, it talks about the type of manuscripts being prepared. You have to decide, this manuscript that I'm developing, is it a book chapter? Is it a letter to to an editor? Is it an article? Is it a case report? There are different types of academic writing. You have to decide, right from the outset. Having done that, you have to know the journal outlets. Then you must have a target. The journal outlet you plan to submit the manuscripts to. Is it an impact factor journal, a local journal, or I call it, I'm sorry, I'm Yoruba, a bole kaja, or which we refer to as predatory journal, But I will advise that the context where you publish your manuscripts goes a long way in determining or defining your scholarship as an academic. Professor Okegua just talked about, there is no how you are publishing in these predatory journals and you'll be able to win grants. It's not possible. So from the outset, you have to set a very high standard that, okay, the journals that you will be patronizing. All right. Having said that, although this is very tiny, but I will just remember, how do you develop quality manuscripts? Number one, ensure your manuscript is shaped around one clear research and state what the problem is all about. Professor Okegwu talked about it. You must identify a problem, even in your research, and you clearly state why the problem is so important. Let your readers know, let the editor know why that research is so important, okay? And also accurately and thoroughly explain what has already been published about this problem. Your work must connect with the existing literature. Choose appropriate theory. I've said that. I think I will skip this portion. Now, what determines the quality of a journal outlet? You know, I just talked about impact factor journals and predatory journals. Okay, for a journal to be rated quality, it must have a research focus. We have different journals today that they will say in science, social sciences, humanities, and different fields. No, the journal you are targeting must have one research focus, and it must be a journal that has the tradition of peer reviewed. That is, when you submit your article, there are reviewers that the article will be sent to. Number two, the impact factor. The journal must have impact factor. Journals are rated on Q1, Q2, Q3, and I think Q4. So you have to know the metrics of the journal you want to submit your manuscripts to. Also, the location of the journal. Is it an institution-based journal, or just some people that put themselves together and want to be publishing for people and you have to pay? So you have to determine, you have to find out the location of the journal. Also, the editorial board of the journal, the editorial board members, you have to know, are they experts? In the area that you are in, that's your research field, you should know some experts, and you should know what is obtainable in that area. So when you look at the editorial board of the journal, you should determine if this journal is actually a journal that you should publish in. Also, the integrity and prestige of the publishing outfit is so important. Now, I have this.
Yeah, we appreciate your round of ma.
Okay, thank you. I just have tips. I'll just go quickly on tips on how to meet with the standard. You have an academic niche for yourself. Have a research base that you are known for. Your area of expertise is important, and also belong to a research group is important. As a researcher, as a scholar, as an academic, an up-and-coming academic, be sensitive and observant. This is so important to us in the humanities. You can't say you are in humanities and you bury your heads, just with books. You have to be conversant with what is happening around you. And that will, motivate you and inspire you to have viable ideas before you go into reading. Okay? Learn the art of academic writing. As many of us are here today, you read articles and you attend academic workshop, the writing workshop. There's no how you are an academic and you want to be great, you want to be a great scholar, and you don't attend academic writing workshop. It is germane to this profession that we have found ourselves, and also dare to be different. Raise the bar for yourself. Don't be afraid to test new waters. Don't just say that, okay, you just work with the criteria that is obtainable in your university. You want to be visible. You want to be a scholar indeed. You have to know how to test new waters. And also, I say here, let me go to drill yourself by sharing your manuscript with some experts in the field. People that they will drill your work and they will raise objective criticism. Don't run away from those people, because eventually it brings out the best in your work. And also be a dynamic researcher. Collaborate. Go for international collaboration. The world today is celebrating interdisciplinary studies. Okay, be consistent and set a benchmark for yourself as regards how many manuscripts you will submit for publication per year. Don't wait until it's promotion time. You will now be running helter-skelter. That is why we have all these kind of objectionable and unethical practices today. if you have made research your lifestyle, there is no how you will not be caught unawares, okay? And I have this. Be determined to maintain intellectual honesty at every stage of your research. This may slow you down a bit, but in the long run, it will help. Of what use is you publishing an article that will be retracted? So maintain intellectual integrity at every time, at every stage of your research. Okay, quickly before I round off, I'll also round off. Why, okay, what are the benefits of quality publications? Quality publications give you visibility, bring you to the academic prominence. They are used to measure your competence in the academic community. They ensure your rapid promotion. They position you for international collaboration on big projects. I tell you, outside the country, when they are on a project and they need a Nigerian or an African, they go online and search what you have done. The quality publication that you have out there will speak for you. And also, your quality publications make you an institution that will keep speaking in the academic circle long after you might have retired. I mean, people will research about you, they want to know, and they start quoting you, you become an authority. So it is important. These are the benefits of quality publication. So I want to say that as you join the profession, I want you to count the cost. If you want to build a house, you sit down and count the cost in order to know what resources you will need and how much, so that you will be able to know how to go about this business that we do mainly in academia, because quality publications bring you to the cutting edge of your research.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Oyebode, for the comprehensive and well-packaged lecture on the tips on writing quality manuscripts. And I want to believe the audience have picked a lot from what you have said. We really appreciate your efforts and input into this. Thank you very much. Not wasting our time, I'll go to the last speaker, who is no other than Dr. Lukman Olasunkanmi. Before he starts, I want to read out his citation. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, Dr. Lukman Olasunkanmi is a senior lecturer in the Department of Chemistry, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. He is also a senior research associate of the Department of Chemical Sciences, Faculty of Science, University of Johannesburg, South Africa. He is a university lecturer and researcher with more than 10 years of experience. He has a PhD in chemistry from the Northwest University, South Africa. He was a postdoctoral fellow at the Northwest University and the University of Johannesburg. He is an active researcher and science scholar with more than 90 published articles and book chapters in highly rated peer-reviewed journals and publishing outlets, as shown on his Scopus page. Dr. Olasunkanmi is currently the Vice Dean, Faculty of Science, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He is very active in NYA and a current member of the immediate past secretary of the NYA conference that was held in the East. So permit me to welcome Dr. Lukman Olasunkanmi to give his talk, which is focused on concept of manuscript preparation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Odetokun, for the citation. Good day, everyone. I think I should start by sharing my slide, actually.
Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I'm doing that now. All right. Kindly confirm to me that it has come up.
Not yet.
Okay, I think it should be loading.
Yes. Okay. It's up now.
It's up now. Okay, thank you.
Can you put it to the presentation mode? Okay.
I think it's there.
All right.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Odetokun, once again, and good day, colleagues and attendees. Let me start by appreciating the committee for inviting me to give this talk. Interestingly, the topic given to Dr. Oyebode and myself, I wonder if there will really be clear distinction, so to say, because you cannot publish a quality manuscript without having a good concept in writing it or preparing it. So she has touched on most of the things I'll be talking about. But the good thing about it as academics is that there will always be a different way of presenting the talk. And so for those parts that she has touched on, I'm likely to just skip quickly so that we not waste much time. So to start with, you will agree with me that publication is an important part of research process. So if you go to the lab or you are a researcher, or you go to the field to obtain certain evidences or observations, the only way you can communicate it to the world, or one of the ways really, is by publishing the reports. And so there are other ways by which you can disseminate research findings. But the one that reaches the world more globally is your published manuscript. So other ways of disseminating research findings are what I highlighted here. I'm not going to waste time on that. But why are we discussing manuscript preparation? And so I put a question. Could you actually be a 3-in-1, a great teacher, a great researcher, and a great writer? Yes, it's a possibility. But then there is no one-to-one relationship between the three. That you are a great teacher does not necessarily mean you'll be a great writer. And that you are a great researcher does not necessarily mean you will be a great writer. So you could actually research very well. We've seen colleagues that research very well, but it becomes difficult in writing the manuscript out. So manuscript preparation is a unique challenge. And you've got to develop special skills in writing it. So those skills are what we are going to discuss here. So your manuscript, I say, is your pride. So why do we really need to talk about manuscript preparation? So that you can prepare a manuscript that you will not be afraid of sending it for peer review. Because in sending for peer review, then you get feedbacks. And in getting feedback, then you get your manuscript well refined, clearer, and having high quality product. And then you've got your manuscript published in reputable journals, which bring prestige to you and also to your institution. So you could agree with me that it's worth it that we invest a lot in preparing our manuscripts. So how do we get started? We start by carving out a niche for ourselves, such that what you are writing about, you will be an authority in that area. You don't just write A today and write B tomorrow, and then you be jack of all trades. So people must know you with certain things. Your research must have direction because it's going to be your portfolio. And in doing so, then you will have international collaborations because then people have identified you as an authority. So they begin to contact you. Oh, can we work together in this area? But if you do not have a particular area people have identified you with based on your manuscript, then it becomes a problem. So your work becomes more interesting to people. People cite your work more, and then you have expanded scope. So there are 4 unique stages actually, but I think the first 2 seems to be more particular about the talk or the topic I've given. So the fact-finding stage, which is the pre-manuscript preparation. So that's the stage during which you actually want to find out if you have something you can write on. And then the manuscript preparation stage, which is the stage at which you will lay out the facts. And so how do we get started? The first thing is you must have publishable findings. If you do not have things to write about, then you don't need to write at all. And then look at what you found out. Does it make new contributions to knowledge? If it is something somebody else has written before, why do you have to write about it? If it is not bringing any new thing to the table. And then ask yourself if it will be interesting to other people. There's no point publishing a manuscript that nobody will read. So people must be interested in reading it. And then I say your manuscript is like a baggage. You have to pack it very well. So it must be clear and reproducible research methods that you have used to make findings about that particular problem. You must have original result, cutting-edge review of the concept, and then probably originality or novelty. So now I think this takes me really to the heart of preparing the manuscript. So I call this the anatomy of manuscript. So the manuscript structure and the main elements. So we have the face, the body and heart, and then we have the fluid, or what I call the context. And then I had the other part of it that I call the appendages. So this way I have looked at manuscript as like a human being. And so the face, I say, comprises the title, the abstract, the keyword, and then probably the graphical abstract for those journals that require it. And then you have the body and heart, which is also essential. And then you have the fluid. How do we build the manuscript really? I call it the bottom-up approach. You don't start from the title. I mean, you can write your manuscript and then after finishing it, that is when you are going to coin out a title for it. But where exactly do we start from? You start from the data. I must say at this point really, that most of the things I'll be talking about are just purely personal opinion. They are things that I have applied and worked for me. So like some people will say, it's not just one road to the market. So there might be other ways by which some other people do it. Interesting thing about it is that we have high-profile people in the academy, in the Nigerian Young Academy, that we can always talk to. So our mentees here really can have some other ways of doing it if you have a very good mentor that has also got a very proven method or technique of doing it. So let's continue with this. So I say you have processed data. So I always advise students that when you go to the lab, do not keep that data for too long. Process it, get table out of it, get figure out of it. Because it is only when you have processed your data that you can find out whether it makes a sense or not. But if you keep it for too long, then you can lose track of it. You can lose track of it. So you are not really sure what went wrong while you are acquiring the data. So get your data processed. One good thing about processed data, tables and figure again is that by the time you begin to write your manuscript, you are just writing words around it. You know, just write words around it. Explain what the table means. Explain what the figure means. What are the observations? What do you infer from there? And so that takes us to the results and discussion. Because those are your results, the tables and the figures. The next thing for you is just to begin to discuss them, the observations, the inferences, before you now begin to write the method. Interestingly, the method was the way by which you obtain the result in the first instance. So most of the time, we do not have problem writing the methodology. And then we go to the introduction. Some people will say you should start from the introduction because that is where the literature will be. But then you cannot begin to formulate a problem really without knowing more about the problem itself and what has been done on that problem and where are the gaps. So all those facts are already there for you before you actually embark on the research. So I view it that, okay, you get your results, process it. And then abstract and keywords, then you can write your conclusion. After all this, then you can coin out a title. And so I have typical limits of each element. Again, this is not etched in stone. Title, like Dr. Oyebode also mentioned, that she advised that I shouldn't be more than 20 words. So I've put a range. then your abstract, your keywords, the introduction, the methods, the resource and discussion, the conclusion and references. So this layout, as I have put here, also could vary from journal to journal. So you need to consult the journal that you have in mind to send your manuscript to. Find out about the author guideline for that journal and ensure that your manuscript follow the layout of that journal. So manuscript title, Dr. Oyebode already talked extensively about this, that it must be catchy, concise, and journal compliant. And so I put a typical example there of a title of manuscript where we started from up there, and then where we got to later, and then where we eventually got to, and then we got it published. And you will agree with me reading the three that actually the last one is very, very catchy, more catchy, or the most catchy of the three. And it's actually the most concise also. And then you go to the abstract and keywords. Your abstract really must be attention-getting, must express the problem, the objective, or significance, and so on and so forth. Dr. Oyebode also talked on that. And then you go to the introduction. So without wasting time so much again on the introduction, I will just say that it summarily talks about the question or the problem. What problem are you trying to solve? And in writing everything about it, make sure you provide background. Make sure you mention previous attempts to solve the problem. Make sure you demonstrate that you are aware of the existing solutions and their limitations, because that is where you are going to work on. And then describe how your research approach the problem. So highlight what is distinct about your work. And in that area, that is what we call the motivation or the justification of doing your own research. While doing this, you must cite relevant literature. And then you go to the method. So the method, I say that is how you have attempted to answer the question or how you have attempted to solve the problem. So that's your methodology. And then you justify why that method is chosen. And ensure that you are explicit enough in expressing your methodology such that there will be reproducibility. Science in Nigeria or anywhere in Africa is the same in Europe and every other place. And so if I thought there will be anything that makes it different from what that makes the results obtained somewhere else different from your own, there must be a reason. Okay, there must be a very good reason for such. So you must be explicit enough such that people somewhere else, when they are trying to reproduce that thing, we see that, oh, okay, your method actually was what you presented. And then the results and discussion, what did you find out? What does it imply? And then here I say is the most important part of it, because I call it the packaging part. If you have gone to the lab or you have gone to the field to obtain data, but you present your results haphazardly, nobody will be interested in it. So it has to be well packed. So the conclusion is the summary, the position and value. That summarizes the objectives of the work. It shows the aim was achieved, and then it reiterates the important fact or idea for the reader to take away. Usually I say do not use in conclusion. So then we have the other contextual elements. They also form part of the manuscript, the acknowledgement, the declaration of competing interest, then the credit author, which I've brought a sample from SFR page. And then you have your references. So basically, I will say that you avoid using too old references, just like Dr. Oyebode also mentioned. And then I strongly advise that you use reference manager. If you use reference manager, life is easier for you. Because if you have a particular journal in mind, you have prepared your manuscript using that journal reference type. And then if for whatever reason your manuscript is not published in that journal, you do not have to wait for too long before you send it somewhere else. So for people that do not use reference manager, it becomes an Herculean task. Then it could take another 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they can adapt the reference type. But if you have started with a reference manager, it's just a click away, and then you submit to another journal. So I have these useful tools. Some of them I do use. Some of them I've never used. So I say that it should be simple. You should use simple terms, simple sentences, and good grammar in your writing, and ensure you use terminologies in your field, because that also conveys to the reader that you are an authority or you are somebody that has been working in that area. do grammar checking if need be. And so I saw this Grammarly thing that people have been talking about. So I've never used it, but I can advise that if that is going to help you, it's something that you can actually explore. Ensure compliance with journals format. So I advise that for every single journal you want to target, read the author guidelines. It's always there online, unless that journal doesn't have feasibility. And then I've mentioned the reference managers. So I've cited the example here of EndNote, of Mendeley. There are so many other ones. Whichever one you lay your hand on or you have access to, ensure you use it nicely. So I use EndNote. I know a couple of colleagues use Mendeley, and so on and so forth. Then avoid plagiarism by all standards. Do not plagiarize. So if there is need for you to paraphrase, you can paraphrase sentences. But even when you are paraphrasing sentences, remember that the idea that is being paraphrased comes from somewhere. It has to be properly referenced. Okay? But in actually identifying that your manuscript falls within an allowable limit of similarity index, you should subject it to plagiarism check. And so there are some software that we are familiar with. The Turnitin is there, the Authenticate is there, and so many other ones. So whichever one you have access to, I will strongly advise that before you send your manuscript out, do a check on it. And finally, I said there's a disclaimer here. Like I said before, these are personal opinions. No idea is etched in stone as I've presented. And I always believe that research ethics is important. Dr. Oyebode mentioned it, Professor Omonkhua also mentioned it, that you have to be careful of what you are putting your hands into so that you don't burn your finger. Be ethical in everything. But I couldn't cover the talk so much here, so I'm putting a disclaimer. Select where to publish, navigate journal tree, going through peer review process, the shock that will come up and how to do this, how to develop shock absorber. I couldn't talk so much on that here also. And I must acknowledge really that I got a previous presentation from Professor Benso on a similar topic some times ago. So I was able to adapt a few points from there. And there was a YouTube video that I watched some times ago also that I was able also to adapt a few points from. Once again, I thank the Nigerian Young Academy and the committee in charge for inviting me. I wouldn't know what qualified me for giving the talk, but I believe if there is any gap that I have missed, we have qualified hands in the room, very seasoned academics that can fill it up. So thank you for listening. Over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Lukman Olasunkanmi. In fact, you have really explained to us not only the anatomy of manuscript writing, you have dealt with the skeleton, the muscle, the nerve, the blood, anything about manuscript writing. We are highly grateful to you. Now we welcome questions from the attendees. Please, if you have any question among the attendees, you can kindly signify so that we will call you to ask a question. Secondly, if you know you are also free to type in your question in the Q&A section of the platform. Please, we have other members of the panelists that would do justice to your question when asked there. So over to you, the attendees, if you have any question. I can see Aruna Abdullahi, his hand is raised up. Okay, you can talk. Can you unmute yourself, Aruna Abdullahi, and ask a question? Please unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay, well, while he's trying to unmute himself, there's a question here, which I want anyone among our presenters to give a response to the question. The questioner asked that, what is the difference between Q1, Q2, Q3, and so on the choice of journal publications? Dr. Oyebode, I think you mentioned that. Can you please explain more before we ask Dr. Lukman to give more explanation? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Actually, the Q1, Q2, they are basically about on a scale of evaluation in terms of quality, how journals are rated. I mean, in terms of, okay, this is a good journal of high impact. And when you look at the metrics of the journal, you see, you can rate it in terms of, the points that the journal has. So we have journals that we qualify as Q1 in terms of high standard, highly reputable, impacts, then followed by Q2, then followed, so seasoned scholars always strive to publish their articles in, Q1, Q2, and times Q3. But usually people don't want to go for Q4 because in terms of standard, it's not as highly rated as, journals that go for Q1 and Q2. So I'm sure there are other scholars in the field that can explain more on that.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Olasunkanmi, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kwan. Yes, thank you, Dr. Oyebode. So she has said it all. Q rating in journals is quartile rating or quartile ranking. So, and by quartile, of course, we know that is taking things in the quartiles, 1/4 of it. So 25%, 50%, 75% to 100%. So if you have, for instance, a list of journals, and then you want to categorize them from the topmost to the one below, and then you have the first 25% of the journal, those journals will be the Q1 journals, and those will be the one at the very top. Okay, the most standard in the area, the Q1 journals. So if you publish in Q1 journals, you get prestige for it. So that is where most very respected researchers want to publish in. And then before they go to Q2, those one between 25% and 50% of the rating. And then before they go to Q3, those one between 50% and 75% of the rating, and so on and so forth. So it's quartile ranking or rating.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, just in addition to that, the attendees can go online and search for Simago journal rank. You'll get more information about Q1.
Yeah, that's true.
Q3. Thank you very much. There's a question there for Prof, Professor Omonkhua. The questioner said that how can someone get a collaboration without knowing other writers? Prof.
Oh, okay. Without knowing other writers, I presume without knowing the person. Yeah. That is, you are meeting the person for the first time. Okay, there are so many ways of going about it. One of the most interesting ways is when you are doing a study and you know exactly what your objective is, you can go online and search for people who are working in a similar field. And then you can write to them and tell them that this is your objective. And normally, of course, it's not a given. Some people may accept, others may reject. So depending on your tenacity, you could write several people. For the sake of integrity, we normally advise that you write one person at a time, okay? So that you don't have, you are seeking for someone to collaborate with you, you've written to 10 persons and all 10 accept, and then you're dropping so many. I'm talking from my own point of view. So interacting directly with the person is a good idea. And then you could also have colleagues who know people in that field, and you can request. That is when networking in science becomes important. One of the things about researchers is that we are a very closeted set of persons. We are academics. We don't want anything to, but we don't know how important it is to network. I got to learn this thankfully in the middle of my career, and it helped me tremendously. Learn to network. When you get to conference, even if you're an introvert, the beauty about conferences is that you're going to conferences where you're likely presenting a paper, and so you are used to that field. Talk to people and network with them. So attend conferences, attend workshops, have a network of people who are in the same area as yourself, and then you can reach out to them and talk to them directly. So yes, you can write to people and collaborate with them. Specifically, it's so much easier now that we have the internet, where there's a huge repository of information, and so you can take advantage of that. I hope that answers the question for that person.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Aruna Abdullahi,
sorry,
can you ask a question?
Dr. Ismail, let me add something just to follow up with what Prof. Omonkhua said.
Okay,
I think for this generation also, I think we should, I would just want to add that very importantly, using databases is very important, especially two, which are LinkedIn. I would advise most of the attendees to try to register with LinkedIn, and then get from there. Once you generate a LinkedIn account, you quickly have a network, and from those networks, clearly you identify people that you can easily network with. Those are your potential collaborators. And also the same thing with ResearchGate. You can also use ResearchGate, open a ResearchGate account. From there, once you register some of your profiles, you can easily be, it will keep suggesting people that are working around your area, and then you can quickly develop a niche and you understand experts in your area. From there, you can build and see who you can contact. Then that's another way, in addition to the very good and elaborate description given by Professor Omonkhua. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, this is this generation, so we encourage them to do it in their rooms also.
Exactly. Thank you very much, the President, for that addition. That was really helpful. Aruna Abdullahi, can you ask a question, please?
I think the answer has been like that since the beginning of this section. So,
okay. Then we can go to another question. Before we go, we still have one more question, please. This question probably goes to all the speakers too. Please, how can local journals be strengthened? How can we improve visibility of our local journals? Dr. Olasunkanmi, you want to take it first?
Oh yes, Dr. Odetoku, thank you. And yeah, that's coming from Howard S. Usman. Yet, unfortunately, we tend to under-promote our local journals, which is not so good to us. But the problem starts with us as academics and institutions, that when you publish in local journals, you do not get your promotion, or it is given lower score than an international journal. So what we have been doing really is to try as much as possible to talk to people wherever we serve on the committee and in some other arena, that we have to promote our local content. So we have to find a way of striking a balance. Okay, publishing in local journal, and as long as it is a very good work, because publishing in local journal really does not mean it's not a good work. And so as long as it's a good work, it should be given the deserved score when being assessed for a promotion or when being assessed for a scholarship. So it is a collective effort. So not just the effort of one person. So wherever we have the opportunity to talk about it, just as our has just done, that we should continue to tell people that local journals must be promoted. They are our journals, and the way to promote them is to ensure that we score the content of the article in there, not the journal itself. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr.
I don't know if I can come in. Yeah.
Okay, Prof. Please go ahead.
I think I want to thank Doctor for his comments. One of the other things we can do is to make our local journals more visible, because that's a big problem. People are afraid to publish in local journals because they think that others won't see what they have published. And that becomes a problem when they are going to be assessed in the larger society, in the larger world, where people are looking at the internet and your presence in the internet. So visibility is important. I'm the editor, a science editor of African Journal of Reproductive Health, and that journal is indexed in Scopus and PubMed. So it's published right here in Benin. It's visible to the entire world. There's another journal here in the university, I think it's called Tropical Journal of Pharmacy. Here, it's indexed in Scopus. So we must struggle to get our journals indexed in these bodies. Because when we talk about, when we're talking sometimes, I'm talking to younger colleagues, they'll say, I will keep my low profile data for local journals, and then the high-flying one for the Sevilla Springer journal. And we keep enriching that sphere, whereas we are diminishing our own, I'm passionate about building local capacity. I know the whole ASU fiasco has really demoralized a lot of persons, but the truth is that everybody's running away to build another person's land. Can we empty the whole of Nigeria into another country? We can't. So let's also try to build our own. I think that question is incredibly important. Let us build our local journals. Let's make them more visible and indexed in high indexing bodies. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that submission, Prof. It's a good takeaway from this meeting. Before we close the session, I want Dr. Oyebode to quickly respond to this question. The questioner asks that, are there platforms where reputable journals can be identified? Are there platforms where reputable journals can be identified?
Yes. Yes, there are different platforms online where good journals will be found. Well, I would like to say one thing about the way I operate as an academic. Okay, like for instance, the different publishers in in academia, like Sage, like Routledge, I do search, those platforms to check, journal outlets that are specific to my field. For instance, I'm in the humanities. When I get go online and search Sage, I search for journal outlets, and I've found the discourse communication, discourse studies. So when you get online, there are different publishing outfits whereby that house different journal outlets. We have Routledge, we have De Gruyter, we have Sage. So when you get online, these platforms are there, and from there you can check, relevant journal outlets that are relevant to your research area. That's what I do. Another thing is that, just as everybody has talked about mentorship is important in academia. See where people that have gone ahead of you, where they have been publishing. Look at their CV. You get online. You should know experts in your field. Get online and check out their CVs. You will see different platforms, different journal outlets that they have published. When you check, you will be able to decide if the quality of that journal outlet. So that there are different platforms online that you can
Thank you very much.
Check to know journals that
are. Can you say something about that?
Oh yes, I think Dr. Oyebode has answered it perfectly. There are journal databases. You go to Scopus, that to a reasonable extent, whatever journal you find there is already well indexed since it's Scopus. So it's not going to be a mushroom journal. So you go to Web of Science, so you search there. So whatever journal you find there, and so on and so forth. And really, when you are also developing your own manuscript, since you are targeting publishing in a very reputable journal, there are references that you use in your manuscript. So those also guide you towards where you can publish. So those are the things. I think that's what I can just add.
Yeah. Before I call on the president or the chairman to give vote of thanks, I want to remind our audience, the attendees, that you can always get the recording of this lecture on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can follow the association on Facebook and Twitter. You get to see some of the programs we've done in the past and the ones that we'll be doing in future. Thank you very much. Let me invite the chairman to give the vote of thanks before we call it a day. Chairman.
Oh, I think we can call Mr. President. I give the opening remark on his behalf. So let him call in first.
So that you do the vote of thanks on your behalf too.
Okay. Thank you so much. And first, let me sincerely apologize for missing the first 7 to 10 minutes. Of course, it's the network. Since 10 minutes to the time, I've been struggling until I got through some minutes late. So I apologize for that. Yes. First, let me thank our speakers. We have very distinguished speakers. Professor Omonkhua, who has been very, very, very senior scientist in the country. I'm glad that she was the one that was given to say something about the proposal, because she was actively involved in and do I call it an institution or a center that actually receives so many proposals from some of us. I know at one point she also assessed one of my proposals. So yeah, she's very good in the field. I'm aware, and so I'm sure that's why we learned a lot from her. So Prof, sincerely thank you on behalf of the Nigerian Academy. Even though you're part of us, but we should still thank you for doing a very good job. The attendees have learned a lot from you. To Dr. Olasunkanmi, thank you so much, sir. He is. I'm sure you are in the citation we have heard that he's one of the top 2% researchers in his field, and I'm glad that he was also given that topic to how to write high quality manuscripts. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time. Truly, some of us learned a lot also while you are presenting, and thank you so much for taking time to prepare. To my big sister, Dr. Oyebode, truly, when you're presenting, I also pick so many things I learned. In fact, I just chatted one of my friends, a student, to tell him that is he listening to you, because things are very interesting from so many things are interesting from what you said. So we thank you for honoring the invitation and also for preparing. The 3 presentations were very articulate, very meaningful, and I'm sure that attendees really enjoy all of them. So on behalf of the Academy, we sincerely thank all of you for taking your time to prepare this presentation. So, and to attendees, we also cannot thank you enough. The whole essence of Talk to Your Professors program is to allow free interaction, even though today I didn't hear so many comments from you directly. Is to allow so that you interact with experts in the field to learn more, so that you also build on as you grow in the academia. That is actually the purpose, and I hope. And please, at any point in time, we also will request you to send us feedback as to what we can do to improve the program. You can send it to either the Secretary of the NYA or any of the social media platforms of the NYA, or through the chair of the Talk to Your Professors program. Anyway, just try to give us a feedback if there's anything that you think the NYA can do to further improve the acceptance and usefulness of the program. We are free to accept recommendations so that we improve as we go forward. So we also sincerely thank you, and we also hope that you have learned a lot from the presentations. And to the Talk to Professors program committee, thank you so much for taking your time to organize this. I know it's not easy. I've been part of this, and I know it's not easy. Thank you so much. And the Academy sincerely appreciate your commitment and your service to humanity. Thank you so much, and God bless all of us. And Dr. Akintayo, you can say something, and then we'll close. Thank you.
Thank you, President.
Thank you so much. my president has said it all. So thank you so much. I know this is the last edition for year 2022. And so far, so good. We've had like 4 editions. The first one, pathway to academic and research breakthrough. And we had Professor Dine, Professor Oluwabunmi and Dr. Betokun as panelists. We also had the second edition, which is mentorship, key to career and professional development. We have Professor Sochuku, Professor Anyide, and Professor Kunga as our member of panelists. And also the third one, the topic was a skill for excelling in academic research, part 1. And Professor Oluwabunmi Oyebode from OAU, in Wiyobina from Covenant, and Associate Professor Foluke Onabona from Redeem. So here we just conclude the 4th edition today, and it has been a success throughout. So we thank God. I want to appreciate all of our panelists right from the 1st edition to this last edition, 4th edition. Professor Omonkhua, thanks so much for coming and for doing justice to the topic. Professor Oyebode, Dr. Oyebode, yeah, Professor Oyebode, but we are talking to Professor, so I think I'm permitted to use that. Professor Oyebode, thank you so much. We appreciate that. It's like we were under a classroom atmosphere when you were discharging, and I learned a lot from your weight of experience. Thank you so much, madam. To my good friend and brother, Dr. Olasunkanmi, thank you so much for that mind-stimulating and insightful talk. We appreciate your coming. Thank you so much. God bless you. To all our participants, the attendees, thank you so much. This program cannot be successful without you coming. We cannot be talking to ourselves. So thank you for making a success. And I just want to encourage you, everything you have learned on this platform, right from the 1st edition to this 4th one, make use of them, and it's going to make you a better researcher that we can see and be proud of in future. Thank you all for coming. And to the NYA Executive Ham, under the leadership of Dr. Howard, thank you so much for giving us this privilege to serve the NYA, and thank you for all your support and contribution to the success of this program. And to my committee member, from our moderator, Dr. Betokun, thank you so much for taking up this task and for executing it successfully. Thank you so much. We are proud of you. Dr. Oluwakemi Rotimi, thank you so much. Our able secretary to the committee, and Dr. Ifeanyi Obi, thank you all for the sacrifices, for all the contribution, for those meetings, late night meetings at times, and you've been coming and you have not been complaining. I cannot do it alone. Thank you for being by my side. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. As we'll be coming your way next year, like the president said, we need feedbacks on how to make this program better, on how to serve you better. Please, let's have your feedback. Thank you. God bless you. And I wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much for attending.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Dr.
Yeah. So